Hello everybody, my name is Adam and welcome back to another Planet Zoo video today, where we will be creating a habitat enclosure for a cute little animal, that animal being the Common Wombat. So sit back, relax and enjoy me creating this enclosure. And here we are, and we're going to start off this habitat how I always start off habitats. But if you're new around here and you like Planet Zoo, then you might as well hit that subscribe button. Right, how do I always start off habitats? If you're a long time viewer of mine, you will know the habitat barrier, the habitat gate, the fence, whatever you want to call it. But that's what I like starting off with. So I made this kind of like rustic with a little bit of modern elements fence here. You can see the custom path is going to be plaster pieces as well. Little barrier, not barrier, sorry, little banister holder. There's the curb of the path. And then once I had the main look and I was happy with the aesthetics of the habitat barrier, it was just time to put everything in place where I wanted it. Turned on angle snap in the building settings and just rotated it around so I can get nice circular shapes until I found a shape what I was happy with. That shape being this kind of like circular, nice flowing shape, but you can see there's gaps, so we need to fill those gaps in, don't we? And I did this, well, exactly the same way how I created the main parts really. I just got a smaller part of the plaster pieces out of the building menu, got these conservation beam pieces, the smaller ones obviously, and then just aligned everything, and everything should slot in nicely if you do this. If you want to copy any of the techniques I use, then this should work really well, as long as you've got angle snap on, very important. And then yeah, just line everything up, fill those gaps, and it comes out looking something like this. And I was really happy with it. And then it was just time to put the path underneath so our actual guests can walk along this custom path. And there we have it. Our main viewing area is now complete. So I moved on to creating the hard shelter and kind of like the main building focal point for this habitat creation. I wanted it so that the animals can go into it, meaning that, you know, they can be put into it by our zookeepers and vets. But also our guests can see in it, but also our animals can get out of it, if that makes sense, into the main kind of like body of the habitat, the main viewing area. But I wanted it to be private, so I ended up using one-way glass in the viewing area. You can see me just playing around with loads of different pieces. Say it all the time, patience and perseverance does prevail. Just try everything you want to try. See, I'm just trying along with all these same pieces, as well as put like a little trim on the inside, carrying on that log theme, mixing kind of like rustic with modern, which I seem to do a lot recently. I don't know why, but it just seems to go and it seems to flow. That rhymed. Right, and just adding the roof now. I do end up changing the roof. I wanted it to overhang a bit, so I just moved the grid size on the bottom right there in the building menu just down to 2 meters, and then I can just kind of like have the roof hang over the side and the back and the front of the building itself, giving it kind of like a more modern look, and I just think it looks a little bit better. Here's the glass I was talking about. I love that they added these pieces. I can't remember when they added them. They've been in the game for a while now, but I don't use them as much as I should do, really. I mean, they're one way, they're brilliant. It stops your animals from moaning about, you know, not having any privacy and being stressed and stuff. And yeah, it gives it that more realistic look, because that's what kind of glass you would have if it was the inside of a habitat where our animals will sleep. This will be the hard shelter, remember. Just adding the beams and the little touches and the little detailing now, giving it again that more realistic look, making everything looks as if it would work if we was in real life. And it came out looking like this. You can see I've changed kind of the side of the building, and you can see me adding a little bit more detail in here, kind of like a custom wall with some rocks and some foliage. And you can see I've added a lot of trim as well, and the detailing is finished. I am happy with that build now, and now I can move on to completing the detailing and adding stuff around the actual building itself. As you can see, I did fiddle with this quite a lot. I didn't really know how I wanted it to look. I was trying different shapes, different kind of foliages along the wall. I wanted kind of like a feature wall. I know it sounds a bit weird, but bear with me, it does come out looking pretty good, and I am happy with it. And the feature wall is what I built. Use these four rocks, sorry, I always pronounce that word wrong. 4 rocks. Out of the aquatic pack, I believe. Again, I've said it loads of times, these are sort of versatile. I use them for pretty much every habitat I actually create. I'm obsessed with them to the point where quite unhealthy. But yeah, just finishing off the trim and creating this custom wall. I wanted like a diagonal shape, so it was like half like actual wall and half like man built custom wall. And I don't know why, I wanted something different. I was struggling for ideas, and I thought this is going to look unique. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it. I've seen different variants of stuff like this in like cafe and restaurant builds, but not on the side of a habitat hard shelter building. And then you can see this trim here, and I did play around with this a hell of a lot, and I think I ended up changing it in the end, so bear with me, stay around to the end of the video and you will see how it come out looking in the end. Just adding this trim onto the log walls, which I've lowered down into the ground, so they're about 1 meter high, and this is kind of going to be like a planter area. Again, just adding to those aesthetic, adding to the foliage. Foliage is king in this game, I say it all the time. If you don't know what to do with a build, any build really, or a zoo in general, just throw loads of foliage in, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, you will have a better looking zoo and a better looking build, whatever you're building, habitat in this case, obviously. See, we're just filling in this kind of like planter garden area. Kind of looks like a little cottage. I don't know what I was thinking really, to be honest with you. I kind of just went with the flow, which I tend to do in a lot of my builds, and try out different things, as you can see me doing here, different trees, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, what's too big, what's too small. And that's what the game's all about, isn't it, really? It's all about getting creative and finding out what works for you and what looks good, and deciding what doesn't look good and narrowing it down until you're happy with it. So that's what I did. I did a bit of these lovely flowers now, which kind of like make everything pop with the colour and come alive. And yeah, this pretty much building is pretty much done. We just got to add a little bit more detail around the edge of this window, as you can see me doing now, and then obviously add a gate on the other side, giving it the more realistic aspects that we've got a gate separating this building to the outside of the habitat. So if our zookeepers or our vets need to corner off the animals for any kind of research, or if they're pregnant or need to repair any injury or anything like that, they can do so. Well, give the look that they can do so. Anyway, see, I've put the habitat gates there. A lot of people struggle with placing habitat gates in blueprints, so if you do download this is where you will put the habitat gates, and if you want to download it, then obviously my workshop blueprint link will be in the description below. Just finishing off the bits and bobs of the building now until I was totally happy. Recolouring these to the kind of like the same colour as the path. I wanted to keep everything flowing. And then it was time to just add a bunch of foliage on the inside of the habitat itself, and a bunch of rock work. Again, I'm using the same rocks. I told you, I love using them. I don't know what it is. I just really enjoy using them. This kind of looks like a fallen slope. Really, I wanted different height variants within the habitat, just to give it a bit of a unique look. And and I think I put it off, and I think it looks pretty good. It kind of looks like the rocks are falling a little bit down the hill. Just placing rocks randomly now, and then I'll end up placing foliage in very soon, so you'll see me doing that. But yeah, have you let me know in the comment section below, have you already created a habitat for the Common Wombat? Do you like the Common Wombat? I didn't realise how cute they actually was until I made this habitat and put them in, because yeah, when you say Common Wombat, it doesn't sound like a really cute animal. And I'm just waffling now, I know it don't make sense. In my head it makes sense. Just finishing off the rock work here, and then I think we should add some foliage, shouldn't we? So this is how it looked when the rock work was complete. You can see just on the right hand side I've added a habitat education screen as well. Let's add some foliage, and this is how it came out looking. I will add a little bit more as well as I go along. But for now it was time to create kind of like the fencing area at the back. So I needed some way of closing the rock face and the foliage in with the hard shelter. Struggled to get my words out then. So yeah, I needed something to close the gap, and I thought let's create a custom mesh fence. I think using the same kind of building pieces what we'll be using. So the conservation beams, same colour obviously, and these lovely like rustic brickwork, stone work, would you call them, as the bottom. And then just I wanted a little bit of overhang as well, again just adding to the realism so it looks like the wombat couldn't climb on. Wombats can't actually climb, I don't think, as well. By the way, you can, if you've unlocked the everything you need in franchise mode, you can put this habitat in franchise mode. The animals will stay in, the common wombat will stay in. Remember, all you have to do is change the sign, the common wombat sign, on the front of the hard shelter, and you can have any animal you want in here really. Suits a smaller animal because it is a smaller habitat. But yeah, play around with it, and you know, if you do create something from anything I've created, then let me know. My Twitter, Instagram, anything you want. It's all that links, all that good stuff is in the description below. So I'm just finishing off this fence now, lining up all the mesh pieces, completing it and finishing the gaps. I added kind of like a little custom fence there, obviously not custom fence, sorry, a custom gate within the fence, within the mesh fence. Obviously it's not practical, it doesn't work, but it looks like it works. And if you add realism aspects to your builds in Planet Zoo, then they really do come to life. And yeah, I feel like I have a better time when things look more real. I don't know, it's just my brain. I made different sets as well, you can see here. This is what I would advise doing if you're creating something like this, just so you can play about with different variants, and then you can just slot them in like that. As you can see, that slots in very nicely. All I have to do is duplicate that over and move it, and we've cornered it off. I got a little gap here which kind of frustrated me, but I just duplicated the actual wood beams themselves and kind of just placed them round and closed that gap, and it just kind of worked, and it looked better than I thought it would, to be honest with you. Just lining them up now, and that is pretty much everything done. I'm going to add a load more foliage, as you can see me doing here on this side of the hard shelter. Obviously change the terrain towards the need of the common wombat as well, and it'll be finished. And there we are, we're done. As you can see, I've added a little bit more foliage, but everything's pretty much the same. The common wombats, I did put them in, and they're very happy in here. And yeah, remember, if you want this Steam Workshop in the description, and if you liked this video and liked this habitat, then hit that like button. My name's Adam, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next Planet Zoo video.